All right, so I'd like to start by prefacing this section with I would be kind of surprised if this deck list ends up being ideal. I had a I had a deck submission request that I play Cawblade, which for those not familiar, Cawblade refers specifically to the card Squadron Hawk alongside Stoneforge Mystic. So Caw is the Squadron Hawk. And that deck in Standard played some Jace the Mind Sculptor. I've paired it here with Spell Queller and Teferi Time Raveler, similar to how the Jeskai Tempo plays this as a combo. You've got some counter spells. You got Path to Exile as a quality removal spell. I felt like this deck didn't quite have enough things to be snapping back to include Snapcaster Mage, but maybe we should be playing some number of those. I think I would be surprised overall if Squadron Hawk is ideal in this archetype, but we'll see. We had a request for it, so we'll put a draft of it through the paces. As far as swords are concerned, the three big swords that are going to be up for consideration in these decks are Sword of Fire and Ice, Sword of Light and Shadow, and Sword of Feast and Famine. And personally, I think my favorite of those three tends to be Light and Shadow, because +2/+2 insulates your creature against Lightning Bolt a lot of the time. And then protection from white and black gives you protection from Path to Exile and Fatal Push, so that lets you dodge a lot of things. Sword of Light and Shadow is also good in Stoneforge Mystic mirror matches, which are going to be really prevalent on Magic Online right now because germs are black, so protection from black gets you get past those. I also think, that being said, one of the reasons why I've picked Fire and Ice for this specific configuration is this build has more evasive creatures in it, so the protection's a little bit less relevant, and this deck has less meaningful creatures to get back from the discard pile, so Light and Shadow does need more things that are going to be dying to get more value out of it, so we stay very organized around here. You can always find decks that we're going to be playing later in the stream in the deck queue on my website. Hey, Richard, thank you for the 7 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. I'd be surprised if we can ever play Stoneforge Mystic on. That's not the deck I wanted to join with. I hate this new interface. Much prefer when it would prompt you for which deck you wanted to play when you joined the event. Hey, Griffin, thanks for the 13 months. So, one of the things that I'm going to be repeating a lot today that I want to make sure people really understand is that results, one, in general, you don't want to put a lot of weight into the actual numbers that you're getting. So, like, it feels good to 5-0 or 4-1 or 3-2 or whatever, but just because you 5-0 or 4-1 doesn't mean a deck is good. The second thing is that even in a world where that could mean they're good, right now, much like after Jace and Bloodbraid Elf were unbanned, there's going to be a lot of people playing various Stoneforge Mystic decks against other various Stoneforge Mystic decks. So even if there are a lot of Stoneforge mirror matches going on in this format right now, that doesn't mean that that's what the competitive setting is going to look like, just because a lot of people are excited to play with new things. So, like, you don't test your new deck idea efficiently by playing it against other new deck ideas, right? Like, you want to be testing your new idea against the established good decks in the format. And while some of the established good decks in the format got beat down a little bit, a number of them are still plenty powerful. Hey, Time Lord, thanks for the tier 3 sub. I appreciate that. Right? Modern, maybe Modern can be a little bit more fair again. Also known as the cockatrice problem. I mean, I feel like people think like there's this made up special place where people are only playing these tiered good decks. It basically just doesn't exist. There's lots of people playing lots of bad brews everywhere, from your FNM to Cockatrice to Grand Prix to Moto. Like there isn't some fantasy world where people only register decks that top 8 things, especially in formats like Modern, where changing decks is both expensive monetarily and people are heavily emotionally invested in the deck that they're playing frequently. Yeah, so I'll have an article going up on Cool Stuff Inc. either today or tomorrow. I submitted it really late last night, so it might not get up today because I submitted it so late. But basically, in my opinion, what are going to be the 2 archetypes to beat going into this weekend are likely Tron and Valakut. Will Urza end up including Stoneforge Mystic in its own new? I don't think the traditional Urza deck, and it's hard to call it traditional just because like the archetype hasn't existed for that long, but I think it's hard pressed for the Urza decks that we've seen so far to want to play Stoneforge Mystic, because I feel like just finding Sword of the Meek is not something they've had a problem with. So the 3-month Sturm, I appreciate that. Plains Privilege. Looks like Jeskai Tempo got an upgrade. In a fool's hope that is powerful now that Faithless Looting is banned. Yeah, I think that deck was fine even when looting was legal, and it's better with a better threat. Morning, Steven. Thanks for keeping me around. So I'm just gonna Spell Queller this. And then I think I'm just like Jace unsummon your Kumena speaker. There's another speaker. Keith this combo to the standard queue. 10 out of 10 can do that. As a heads up for standard folks, I am going to be doing all Modern today, and I don't have anything specific on my schedule for the next 2 days, because if today goes well, I might do all Modern tomorrow and Thursday, or tomorrow and Friday also. Hey, Yaku, thank you for the 12 months of support. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Let's get you a sword to go with that shield. And thank you for the generous tier 2. Is that a good drop? Maybe. We might be dead before that card is relevant. If they have another lord here. Moosk, thank you for the brand new tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. This felt like a really good example of like why I would be surprised a straight blue-white Caw Blade like this is good. I actually rejected a couple of Stoneforge deck submissions already that people put in just because I'm not entirely convinced that like a traditional Batterskull sword package is going to be good enough in Modern. So like getting super cute and playing a bunch of bad cards with Stoneforge Mystic almost certainly isn't good. I think people are going to get really caught up in trying to be adorable and like hot take, Stoneforge Mystic is better in good decks. Stoneforge, so I think a lot of people, and this is something we saw when Jason Bloodbraid got unbanned as well, is people think like these cards are going to make their previously unplayable deck super good. And it's just like, no, your bad deck's probably still bad. Someone who hasn't played a lick of Modern or Legacy, can you explain why Batterskull is so powerful? It's not that powerful, Ice Cream Ninja. So in comparison to like a lot of the other things that are going on in Modern, Batterskull's not that powerful. Batterskull's just it's just efficient. So like getting a a 4/4 Vigilance Lifelink into play for effectively 4 mana that then also has the ability to bounce itself back to our hand, so it has some like longevity as the game goes on is a big deal. Allows you to generate value. Subbing, so I can be on record with my prediction of Stoneforge Mystic being too good for the format. You're gonna be... I'm excited for all of you folks to get a dose of reality. I'm excited for all of you folks to get a dose of reality. I'm looking forward to Ancient Stirrings getting banned and maybe getting even more toys back. That, in my mind, so my article is going to be talking about this too, but in my mind, the biggest deal about the changes this week are the fact that WotC has now established that there are no sacred cows in this format. There are no untouchables. Everything is on the table. Anything can be banned. Is basically what Wizards told us. Yeah, there's no workshops or brainstorm like many of us had thought. Myself included. I was on record a number of times talking about how I felt we should just, you know, I was ready to be done playing Modern for a while because I was just really done with it. I didn't think change was ever coming. And like you hear me say on stream frequently, like, if a format isn't the format you want to play, you should play something else. Yeah, I agree. It's a great thing. Do I want to path this? I can't decide if I want to path this or not. Squadron Hawk kind of reminding us in these games that it is in fact not really a modern power level card. No, you're not, Pelly. Most people don't understand why. Get like Force of Negation here and be really sad. Nope. I path this Lord that wasn't attacking as opposed to this one because this one doesn't give Island Walk. So even though I'm taking a hit for 2 here, it gives me the possibility to block later. Yeah, I have low expectations for this one, Steam Flugger. This was, someone sent in a $100 donation for me to try and emulate a classic, so here we are. If they have a Merfolk Trickster, I'm going to be a little bit sad with this line of play, because it gets to kill my Jace, but it is what it is. I mean, people have always registered a lot of blue-white control. Like, regardless of how good or bad that deck is, people have always played too much of it. Caca, caca. So, you don't play Fire and Ice because it shocks things. You play Fire and Ice because it draws cards. Drawing cards is great. A lot of the mid-range and control matchups in Modern come down to top decking. And making your opponent discard a card in a top deck race doesn't do anything. So, Feast and Famine has a very real expiration date on how much card advantage it can generate and to what point. Alright, so since we drew Path, and I've got this Blessed Alliance here too, let's just get our gal into play here. Grab the batteriest of all the skulls. Feast of Famine is good for holding up counterspells like Cryptic though, sure, but Cryptic Command's still not good. Like, again, like, a lot of these things that weren't good before still aren't good. So, like, while we're likely pushing Modern in a more fair direction, right? Like, it doesn't mean you can all of a sudden register 4 copies of Cryptic Command and, like, be okay with it. Sure, but if your point is you don't need more card advantage in your blue deck, then why are you playing Stoneforge Mystic to begin with, right? That would be my question. So, like, if the point you're trying to make is, well, we have enough card advantage, it's like, okay, well, if we have enough card advantage, why are we playing this card? Why are we even considering this card? Because that's the point of this card, right? Umezawa's Jite is banned in Modern, and rightfully so. That card is miserable. I like Feast and Famine in decks with Spell Queller. I don't. I like Sword of Light and Shadow, because Sword of Light and Shadow protects your Spell Quellers from every piece of removal in the format, basically, and it rebuys your Spell Quellers. I'm going to upkeep path this, and we'll drop Batterskull into play here. Opponent's flooding out a little bit here. Top isn't miserable, people are just slow. The lie detector determined that was a lie. Voratog, thank you for the 15 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Yep. Yep. I think there's going to be a lot of people who end up looking really silly because they talked a lot of crap about Stoneforge Mystic. Much like Jace and Bloodbraid Elf. There were a lot of professional Magic the Gathering players that went on record talking about how you don't want Jace unbanned because I'll make you regret Jace being unbanned, blarga 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 blarga. Weird that we tapped. Oh, this is great. It's like, where did we tap Waterlogged Grove? Had to tap Waterlogged Grove. Got it. So we really need a removal spell for this Master of the Pearl Trident. I guess Field of Ruin means we're technically not dead yet. Because I can field Mutavault. We know they don't have a Lord, because if they had another Island Walk Lord, they would have killed us last turn with this Aether Vial. I tweeted an Abzan list. I think Abzan's probably going to be fine. Tank, 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 echoing truth. So we're dead. I believe we've died. Smells like death. Yeah, and even with this Spell Queller, I can Spell Queller this, but then we're only going to 9, and I'm taking 4, 4, and 3 unblockable. It's a good example of why blue-white's probably... When people talk about blue-white being put into, like, this tier 0 status by, like, gaining Stoneforge Mystic, it's always felt like this surreal commentary. Just like this, it's like, really? I'm not quite sure I feel like you're experiencing something that I've not in this format. These first two decks that we're playing are mostly dumpster fires, I think. The next three are decks that I put together, so I have a little bit higher expectations for those. Yeah, I just don't get it, chat. A lot of really credible Magic players told me that Batterskull would render aggro decks like my opponents unplayable. a kill, Damal. Thank you for the 8 months of support. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. Hammer deck is sweet. Yeah, it's definitely sweet, but it's almost certainly terrible. Not having access to Lightning Bolt or a Braid in a Stoneforge Mirror sounds really bad. So, like this is just like the worst feeling in the world, right? Like, my opponent got a Batterskull into their hand, and I had to give them a land while I was on the draw. So, like, I've just, like, given them turn 3 Jace the Mind Sculptor. Your problem was believing in the existence of credible Magic players. That's fair. That's fair. Unsettled Mariner. Okay, it's probably something a little bit more mid-rangey. Did I forget to lock my door?
No, I opened it for him. He wanted something to eat. And I think he wanted to give you the card box.
Thank you for the card box. I appreciate you. I'm gonna bottom this looking for some more lands. Yep.
Right, come on, Jakey.
I love you, bud.
Do you want to get a snack?
Thanks for the 6 months impromptu. I appreciate that. Hope you're having a good one wherever you are.
Jacob.
Jacob, grab a snack and go, please. I love you. You're hungry? Pick your favorite snack. Most of the best snacks are kept in my office. Okay.
If Daddy's hungry.
Oh, I'm hungry. Okay, thank you. Oh, Jake. Is that sort of fire and ice on their end too? Yep. Another Mariner. Alright, so their Stoneforge Mystic is really hard to kill. Now the sweet part here is they don't know that I have a Squadron Hawk, or they don't know that I have a Batterskull of my own. Yeah, this is just a spare, it's just a spare bedroom hider. Yeah, we updated the Jake and deck leading modes. The old ones were like pushing on 2.5 years, so Christy did up some new ones for us. Rather than spending 3 mana to path their Stoneforge Mystic here, I'm just going to get my own Batterskull into play. Currit and She, thank you for the 13 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. If I were a burn player, I wouldn't be afraid to turn 3 Batterskull from control. I'd be thrilled the control deck decided to turn on my Searing Blades this game 1. Yeah, I agree, Beetle. Like, I heard people talking about how they think this is bad for Burn, and I'm like, Burn just, like, plays more Searing Bloods, right? Like, they have so many ways to kill a 1/2, and, like, Burn frequently has them dead before turn 6, right? So, like, if you kill the Stoneforge Mystic, they have to play Batterskull for 5 mana and then get another turn to attack with it to gain life. Glad Nauseum, thank you for the 7 months support. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Welcome. Yeah, and then you can just Skullcrack them on the first attack, right? I agree. Oh, gosh. This counters... Unsettled Mariner here counters, counters the Sword of Fire and Ice triggers, huh? That's awkward. Remember, you are permanent you control, so I can't even, like, 2 them. I have to pay 2 mana for my sword trigger to work. I guess I could kill my own thing. I could, like, cash my Hawk in for a card. Or I could have it deal damage to the Germ. That's probably the line. I guess if they have a path. No, the Mariners are pay 1 each. I guess if they have a path, I'm pretty sad here. No, Mariners text applies to itself too, Tom. How much to add Urza Sword to the queue? I don't think I want to play Urza Sword. That deck's very tedious to play on Magic Online. If we get to gain 6 here, we should be in a pretty good spot. Difficult to race. So even if either they like draw a path or some way to interact with the germ next turn, we're still in an okay spot. I'm planning to go for 10 hours today, but I only put 5 decks in the stream title because both Modern and Magic Online tends to be a bit slow. And a lot of these decks are going to be slow. So I dealt 2 damage to my own germ there, because again, if I targeted any of their stuff, I'd lose my trigger unless I paid 2, and I don't have 2 mana up at the moment. Well, I can get the decks a couple at a time. So I actually have cards for the first 3 decks right now, because there's enough overlap. MTGO Traders lets me get like 150-ish cards in one shot. But yeah, I will have to interface with the trading with the sponsor a couple of times. My Batterskull's bigger than your Batterskull. My Batterskull's bigger than your Batterskull. Neener, neener, neener. One of the more important things here is that I have Squadron Hawks to block their Batterskull, because they also have a Sword of Fire and Ice here. Something worth noting. Yeah, there's gonna be, regardless of how good or bad Stoneforge ends up being, just like when Jace and Bloodbraid were unbanned, there's gonna be a lot of Batterskull mirror matches just because people want to play with new toys while they're shiny. So Magic Online is gonna be an incredibly bad testing tool for the next month for people who want to test their ideas, because playing your brew against other brews is a really bad way to test for a tournament. You want to be testing your deck against other established decks, generally speaking. It is going to be fun Magic. I agree with that assessment. I'm just going to offer a trade here. My ability to stay ahead on clock on average is probably going to be valuable in these games over the next couple days. What? What? Alright, well, I mean, I kind of wanted to kill one of these Mariners anyways, right? So might as well. Means I can't redeploy Batterskull this turn, but it does mean my Teferi resolves. So Spellstutter Sprite counters a... Well, their last 2 cards were Force Blue card. Got it. Hider, I think it's very knee-jerky and buying too much into the hype if you expect a lot of mid-range decks. I think Modern is probably there's gonna be plenty of normal Modern decks that people still play at this point. There's also the Open this weekend is Modern, so you'll have a data point if you want to wait and actually see. I do not have a draft of Bant Eldrazi. It was not on my list of decks that I worked on. I think we've died. I guess I can go Hawk, Hawk, Equip Hawk. Green Red Eldrazi is probably a medium choice. That's a deck that already kind of struggled in the format, I feel like, and it's probably bad against Stoneforge Mystic. Like that's a deck, like decks that were like genuinely powerful before, like Humans, I think are certainly fine. But decks that previously weren't quite good enough that are also bad against Stoneforge Mystic are probably definitely not good enough anymore. I mean, is there like, I feel like when people are like, we need the deck list, and like they see, can we not extrapolate from like what we've seen so far as like what's in the opponent's deck? Yeah, putting pants on the flying creature is decent. Batterskull and Stoneforge Mystic definitely lead to a lot of big board situations. Roses are red, violets are blue, Stoneforge Mystic is coming for you. All I have to say to the Stoneforge Mystic is coming for you response is, where is it? This is the only response you need to people that are talking about Stoneforge Mystic being too scary. Airwaves, thank you for the 11 months of support. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. I do think this is an improvement for Goblins. I think one of the areas Goblins really struggled was the really fast graveyard decks, and those decks took a big hit, obviously. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if I eat their Spell Stutter Sprite, I'm not quite dead. Sad Gristlebrand noises. I actually, so here's a hot take. I think Gristlebrand is better post-looting ban than it was pre-looting ban. So what's our out? Our out to what? What's the issue? Alright, now we're dead. 2 pieces of action kills us. We weren't again, and this is why, questions like that tell me that a lot of people are going to be really bad at this format, is these, if my opponent doesn't have a piece of action left in their hand, I actually think we might be borderline ahead on this board, just because the amount of health that Batterskull gives you inside of combat and the amount of card draw that swords generate puts you into really good spots. So, if my opponent couldn't have answered this Spell Queller, we would have been able to not die inside of combat here, and then equip this, gain 7, kill something, and, get right back into the game. There's a lot of comeback mechanisms when you have these cards in your deck. How is Griselbrand better now? Well, Griselbrand was borderline unplayable at the end of last season, in large part due to the fact that it just wasn't a good enough deck to play through all the hate cards that people were playing for the graveyard. So even though Griselbrand takes a hit in losing looting, the amount worse that it gets from losing looting is greatly offset by the amount it gets better by the fact that people are no longer super hostile towards graveyards. I think is a very important distinction. No, the sword deals the damage on its cool. Which again is one of those things where the power level of Magic cards is contextual to the format in which they're being played, and the same is true for entire cohesive strategies too, right? Graveyard strategies are better when people are less gunning for the graveyard. I would not be surprised if Dredge puts up a good result at the Open this weekend, because Dredge, even if it gets weaker, it still gets better by virtue of there being less sideboard hate for it. People are asking, well, what does my Griselbrand list look like? If only there was a website where I maintained deck lists so people could always know the decks I've put some thought into. Gosh, it would be great if something like that existed. It would be really awesome. Someone should work on that. This is what Griselbrand would look like as a starting point without faithless looting. This is where I would start. MagicEsports.net. It would be convenient, wouldn't it? How do I internets? I don't understand. Don't understand. Help me, internets. Imagine such a website. Thanks for the bit, Sufa. I haven't updated absolutely everything on the website, but I've started updating some of them. And Griselbrand obviously needed updates because it lost a thing. Part of me wants to think that part of the reason they changed to magic.gg instead of a Magic Esports URL is because we have the domain name related to the other one. Part of me would like to think that that's part of the reason. I think I'm just passing here. I think we're just letting them put their equipment into play, and then we're naturalizing or disenchanting it. Hopefully they untap and play like a Jace here that we can veto. Dilt. I'm here to say unban Jitty. I'm gonna let that timeout stand, Justin. That's a good timeout. Would you like to spell stutter spray my Squadron Hawk? Is Hawk just good because it blocks for Jace? Hawk is not good. I was paid money to play Squadron Hawk. We're gonna get to the potentially good Stoneforge Mystic decks that I've built myself later. I technically built this one, but it had a request to put terrible cards in it, so I take no responsibility for it. Barakan, thank you for the 3/4 of your support. I appreciate that. Welcome. Hyder, thank you for the 13 months support. I appreciate that. Welcome. Just realized what the Caw and Caw Blade meant after 10 years. that is in fact what the Caw means. Steam Flogger, thanks for gifting us up to Justin. Yeah, I agree, basic lands. I think we're probably going to have like a 4-week period or so, especially on Magic Online where everybody's trying different things, but I would be surprised if on the whole the format changed on a fundamental level. Hey, HN, thanks for the 5 months of support there. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. Yeah, Squadron Hawk does block Vendilion Click. That is definitely true. I would be surprised if Stoneforge Mystic is good in Wurza. I'm not an expert at that deck by any means, but looking at it on paper, that does not seem like a card that is solving problems that archetype has. The Urza deck is not great against Tron, and I think Tron is in a position to be very good in the format. Hey, look, they shuffled my Brainstorm. Thanks, opponent, I appreciate you. I have another equipment. Sword of Sinew and Steel. Deal combat damage to a player. Destroy one target planeswalker and one target artifact. That... Is that actually good? It is, Socio Penguin. I've built every deck we're playing today except for Red White Hammer Mystic. seems like it's pretty good in the Stoneforge Mystic mirror. Can you explain why you think this card is good in the Stoneforge mirror? Because it seems kind of bad to me. You're saying it's good because it destroys artifacts? Is that the line we're going with? I guess if it's connecting, it's maybe okay. But I would be surprised if this card is very good in general. Yeah, the protection colors aren't very good for getting through a lot of stuff. Would be one of my takeaways. Don't you think main board wet balls can alter the Wurza matchup versus Tron now that you can remove main board cages? No, I don't think so. I hurt myself. I think what's it called's a really good magic card. Oblivion Stone's an absurd Magic the Gathering card. Why would they attack Jace there? Because it didn't matter because I was blocking with Squadron Hawk regardless. Oh, they have Vendilion Click. I guess it doesn't really. Maybe I should Spell Queller that. Maybe I should have Spell Quellered that one. I'm gonna grab Sword of Fire and Ice here to start shooting down their things. Zero Manrike Gusaris. Say you're gonna draw Settle. Maybe is Settle even that good at this current point? What are my thoughts on the Frosted on unban? It's a good unban. Giving players more tools to punishing the Bantscape Shift deck for being less interactive. Punishing Golos Scape Shift or Golos Field for being less interactive is a good thing. Put some interaction in your decks, people. Worst Neighbor NA, thanks for the 12 months of support. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. Get your sword to go with that shield. You're my first 1 year since Paul went to work for Wizards. Not sure if I have a problem. Alright, so Jace is dead. I want to block here so I don't lose another creature. Yeah, I think so. I think the Arc Field deck's very reasonable. Maybe I should have flashed this in to try and save the Jace. Oh, it does only kill artifacts and planeswalkers, doesn't it? Yeah, I guess that was just to gain 5. I don't know why I just assumed this killed creatures. It is artifact of... God, this card really isn't that good, is it? Wild. Yeah, I just assumed it was better than it is, I guess. I mean, I guess it's good against my Sword of Fire and Ice here, huh? I need like a Detention Sphere here, basically. It like kills Batterskull in the event that like your opponent can't bounce it and they don't have a removal spell and the stars align and all these other things have to be true. That being said, I think we're dead here because our deck's very bad. I guess I just pass here, actually. I guess I just pass here so I can block whatever they put the sword on. Yeah, that's probably fair. Because this is pro blue now, right? So it eats their Vendilion Click. Hey, Johnny. Welcome back. Hope you're having a good one wherever you are. How's our hour with Stoneforge Mystic been so far? Well, we've played a match and a half. Because everything is slow. There's a reason why there's only 5 decks on the docket for today. Thanks for giving me an untapped land. Do we Batterskull up the Queller? Yeah, probably. Because this has protection from black, so... I don't have an article up on the ban and restricted stuff changes yet. It'll be up later today. Or tomorrow, one of the two. Today or tomorrow. Driving in my car, beep beep. This is my 8-9. There are many like it, but this one is mine. That's fair. There aren't actually many 8-9s in the game. Now, if they have a Path or a Snapcaster Mage here, they can kill my Batterskull. There's one island in my deck, right? I think I have 4 basic islands. But yeah, one of these is just a shuffle. There's going to be a ton of mirror matches today. People just want to play with new cards. Okay. The other equipment is still lethal. Well. Our opponent's sword is Sword of Sinew and Steel. It gives protection from red and black, and when it connects, they can destroy a planeswalker and an artifact. I don't think it's particularly good, but it's a brave new world, so maybe it's fine. I don't think I want these Spreading Seas. Do I want some other, like, Blessed Alliance, maybe? Blessed Alliance is probably fine. Spam Blocker, thank you for the brand new Prime support. There's a lot of great people making a lot of great stuff on Twitch right now. They're shipping your Bezo bucks this way this month and keeping me employed. Yeah, I think Jund Dinos definitely gets better. I think all the mono red decks get marginally better. We're on the scoreboard at least here. Opponent's got 8 minutes on their clock. I've got 13. Right? No, I've got 10. Pretty close in terms of clock. Yeah, seems much better than the first one. Easy keep. Bottom of Polluted Delta. I mean, to be fair, they probably made the new swords kind of mediocre, knowing that they were unbanning Stoneforge Mystic. I feel like there's a good chance that like they knew that was coming. I don't think that's strictly true punchworthy. I think Feast and Famine, Fire and Ice, and Sword of Light and Shadow are all fine. They're all like reasonably powerful cards. Just gonna grab Batterskull, because if they path this, I'm close to casting it. Thanks. War and Peace has good protection colors. I don't know if that's really that true. I feel like they're probably worse protection colors than Sword of Light and Shadow. I don't know what you're asking, Nivik. You know what donation decks cost. Put some 1/1s into play. Yeah, I agree, Snack Size Biscuit. Sword of War and Peace is a pretty fast clock. In what format? Like when I hear people say things like that, it always kind of takes me aback a little bit. Sword of War and Peace is a fast clock. What modern format have you been playing? Where have you been playing Modern that Sword of War and Peace classifies as anything remotely close to a fast clock? Yeah, it was a fast clock in Standard. Like, sword up my, my Bird of Paradise on turn 3 and attack. Like, Sword of War and Peace is so slow that if your deck is playing Stoneforge Mystic, you probably aren't a deck that really needs to be racing that aggressively. It might be wrong to play this because they get to Teferi bounce the Germ, but if they Teferi bounce the Germ, the Squadron Hawks get to kill Teferi, so I think that's a win for me. For the record, I think Ashiok is super modern playable. I think Ashiok is very good. There's Ashioks in the sideboard of this deck and the sideboard of the Jeskai Blight deck. I think that card's great in the format in general. For anybody wondering why I didn't Spell Queller this Spell Stutter Sprite, I'm currently playing Hearthstone. Ashioks against which decks most commonly? Decks that are abusing their graveyard. And decks like Titan Shift that are searching their deck to try and kill you. With graveyard decks on average in the format slowing down a little bit, having Ashiok as graveyard hate becomes a lot more acceptable. Yeah, it's good against Amulet. Yeah, I agree, Paperscape. Ashiok's a flexible sideboard card, which is what you want in this format. Yeah, I agree. Titan Shift is very good against decks like both myself and my opponent are playing. I think Titan Shift and Tron are the new level 0 of this format. You can always see what decks are waiting to be played on stream by checking the deck queue on my website. Man, I really hope Dredge top eights this weekend. Really hope Dredge top eights this weekend. Oh, Teferi time, Raveler. Why are you so miserable? Yeah, I'm playing Queller as a 2-3. I think I just pass here. I think I'm just passing. When is Baby Teferi to the modern? Asking the real questions. Maybe it's right to leave a Hawk back just so they don't get to draw a card. As normal Scape Shift. Well, I'd tell you that normal Scape Shift is the Valakut deck. Is OP going to lose on clock? No, they have 4 minutes. There's plenty of time to kill me. I have a Spell Stutter Spray too. Yeah, we're dead. I think there's lots of different ways to build straight blue-white Stoneblade in this format, and I would be surprised if any of them are good. I think you probably want actual removal a la Lightning Bolt past just Path to Exile. Are we doing all 5 matches with this deck? Nah, I'm going to give it at least 3, though. Any thoughts to something like Esper Fairies? Sure. I've not put any energy into it, but it's probably fine. To set a low bar, Stoneforge is better than Bitter Blossom. I can drop if I want. Deal. Let's get along. Let's get along to some of the good decks of the format. Is Moto locked up? Smells like Moto's locked up. Just to wrap a little concisely on why this deck is probably bad is Jace the Mind Sculptor already struggles to like be relevant in a format that's as brutal as Modern on average, and even with things becoming slightly less brutal while losing Faithless Looting, the format is still absurdly aggressive. Like, this format was like a 12 in terms of how fast and brutal it was, and dialing it back to an 8 or 9 doesn't magically make cards that are slow and awkward less slow and awkward. Squadron Hawk, in a similar vein, is a card that's just not very good. This card's like basically bad Lingering Souls a lot of the time, and even Lingering Souls I feel like struggles to have relevance in this format in a lot of different situations. So let's go ahead and roll on to the next one.